One UI 8.5 is coming, and here are 5 reasons why you should be excited about Samsung's new version of One UI. Welcome back to SamMobile TV. You're here with Daniel. And One UI 8.5 has been sitting on our S25 Ultra for a couple of weeks now. And we are on the 3rd build already. As you can see, One UI version 8.5 is there. And even if you go to software update, which is just here, you'll see One UI 8.5 sitting there, excitedly ready to show you some things. Now, we've done a full deep dive, but I thought I'd break down 5 reasons to be excited as opposed to looking through all the nooks and crannies. This is just some of the big things you should be ready for. First one, the big one, is the control panel customization. Samsung have finally unleashed the shackles of the control panel and allowed us to put things where we want it and add in extra controls as we need them. So the way to do that is hit the edit icon and you can see toggles and buttons and stuff everywhere to adjust things, whether you want to make something smaller or bigger, when you want to move something around into different positions, to reorder things. It's got that whole customization about it. You can make it a whole page of toggles if you want. Or if you accidentally remove something, whoops, you go to add a control and you've got all the controls that you can add in there. So I can go through and I can see where was the always on display, right there, drag it back out as I need it. What's also really neat too is this expanded quick panel that Samsung have. You can actually take things out of here and move it into the sort of major part of the quick panel. So if I wanted to take out quick share, because it could be something that I use a lot, I can drag that out of there and put it out over here. Now, if I want quick share to be a bit more easier to reach one-handed, I can do that, and then I can have it sit like that, and then hit done, and now quick share's at the bottom there, ready for me to access. But I accidentally made this too big. There we go. And look at that. That's a really nice, clean looking quick panel. I love it. If you take a look through some of the extra things you can add in here, it's not quite perfect yet. It is very early stages, as we've mentioned. Let's see if doing that does anything. Okay, we're back. So if we look through the list of things that you can do in here, it's all pretty stock stuff. There's not really anything extra yet that has been enabled in this early stages. You can see some system apps that you can access settings for. You've got some third party, well, I guess if you want to call Google third party, through Google TV and Google Wallet. But there's not really any third party stuff. You've got Surfshark there as one option, but that's about it. And I've got a lot of apps installed on here and there still isn't a lot of options to customize things. Contrast that with what iOS's Control Center customization allows for. There's a lot of third party integration. So hopefully now that Samsung have got this section to add controls, that third party stuff will be added here so you can control them. As for now though, that's really it that you've got. But just the fact that you can customize this and change this, big win. And means for me is the number one reason you really should be excited for One UI 8.5. Nice, clean. And then if you add sort of a media panel into it, it sort of, again, gives it that nice sort of look and contrast. Second reason to be excited is an enhancement of Samsung DeX. Not just the fact that it can obviously do what it already can do, and Samsung DeX is an incredible piece of software that turns your phone into that desktop experience, but more for the fact of what Samsung have enabled when you've got DeX plugged in. Obviously, with One UI 8, you get things like widget control on your home screens, and they've changed how sort of DeX works between the two displays. But with 8.5, they're bringing something in that you get from the tablets, which is the ability to add in multiple desktops. So if you wanted to have up to 4 different DeX desktops when you've got your phone plugged in, you can. And you can have something different set up in each one of those desktops. Just gives you that flexibility when you want to do sort of multitasking or have different work environments set up from your phone. You can do that. With this latest build, it works a little bit. I can add a desktop, whereas before I couldn't. But the option is there, and you can add up to 4 like you can with the tablets. Third reason to be excited is a redesigning of apps, and it's for the better. Visually, they obviously make sense to have this redesign, but I also think practically it makes sense to have this redesign. So the apps that I've noticed it in so far, we have the phone app, and you can see what Samsung have done is centralized and lowered all of the toggles. So you've got the keypad, you've got the incoming, outgoing calls, and you've got your contacts. And you can see there's like a favorites tab now with contact cards for your favorites that you can see from a visual standpoint. And it's just easy to swap between them because they're standing. It's sitting right there. I mean, they're not even really sitting. You can't assign people attributes to icons on a phone app. But you get my point, right? That visual redesign is there for more practicality. Also, it looks nicer. Also, same in the gallery. You've got the same sort of design there at the bottom where you can cycle between the different tabs a lot more centrally, makes it easier to use one-handed. But that stuff is even extending out to things like the app drawer, where you've got the search bar. I don't know if I like that. I don't know if it looks like that if I change it to custom order. Oh no, it does. It's still there. It's just not floating above the apps. Don't know if that'll stay like that, to be honest. I don't necessarily think it looks great. It's not see-through enough. It's a little bit too bland. I think eventually that will change, but at least you can see their point because they've extended that out into the settings as well. That sort of easier to reach, more centralized sort of pill-shaped thing seems to be sort of extending out into lots of different apps. There's going to be some new features for One UI 8.5. We've already noticed one inside the phone dialer called direct voicemail, which is when you're unable to answer, allows the caller to leave a voicemail message, and I can send calls to voicemail from the More Options menu on the incoming call screen. You can also set calls to automatically go to voicemail after ringing for a certain amount of time. This also will tie into Transcript Assist, where it might actually record the transcript and save it for you. That's part of Galaxy AI. But also extending beyond that too, there will be Galaxy AI features that are going to come with One UI 8.5 too. I don't actually have any of them yet because they're just at the moment floating APKs. You can check out and read about some of them on our website, but they are going to bring some new AI enhancements. One thing I did notice though as part of the Galaxy AI set is there is an extra toggle now in the Now brief for Nano Banana image creation, which I think is Gemini's image creation service or like a really advanced one. At this stage, I haven't seen anything to do with it inside the Now brief. There has been no sort of cards that have come up yet in my interactions with it. But the fact it's sitting in there means that it will be at some point when it gets properly switched on. But there was a Galaxy AI thing that I did notice is that when you are in a photo, for example, and you do a Galaxy AI generative edit, let's just let that download from the cloud. The interface for Galaxy AI has changed and there's been some extra functions that have been added in with here too. So let's just say I want to remove the footballs in the background here. Automatically will wash them away rather than that extra step of having to tap. And then if I hit generate, that will remove them as it did before. But what's great is there now is extra toggles to make it easier to go back and keep editing. So I can hit the keep editing button here. If there's something extra that I spotted that I wanted to get rid of, like maybe this tree in the background wanted to go as well, washes that away, hit generate, and then I can keep removing things as opposed to having to save the copy, then open up a photo again. I can just continue to edit because, well, that's the option that's there. And what's cool too is if I hit keep editing again, there is now a history. So if I wanted to bring the tree back, I can go back to that version and save that copy of it. It's great. And then the last thing is Samsung are bringing a sort of a new UI feel to it. It's very subtle. Some of you might not even notice it, but it's there. And it's to do with the icons. They're giving it more of like a 3D sort of shaded effect, almost like they're lifted above the background image of your photo. You can see with the gallery, with Samsung Internet, with the notes. Like if I bring my Z Fold 7 into it here, it's not as sort of lifted or 3D effect. Pump that brightness. You know, you can sort of see that side-by-side difference there where they're not actually as 3D and lifelike. So I think Samsung are putting a bit more emphasis on a visual effect as opposed to just relying purely on function. It's something that I've noticed in my time using the 17 Pro Max is that whilst it's very light on function, the visual effects, there's a lot of attention to detail. And it seems as if Samsung is starting to think about that. Because even in things like the gallery, if I discard out of there and get out of there, you can see, like if I go to the top of an album, right? That is a visual there. And then if I swipe away with that, they kind of disappear and reappear in a nice sort of animation way, I guess you could describe it. So that's sort of, I think, what Samsung are trying to bring in. You can see it there again. It goes from that to a sort of frosted background and then disappears. Samsung are really trying to add those sort of touches in to One UI 8.5 to give us a different feel. And you can see it in things like the settings too. You can see that the settings menu is a lot cleaner, a lot more of a nice visual aesthetic as opposed to just cluttered menu items with names and things you can do everywhere. It's kind of been cleaned up a little bit. So that's 5 things to be excited for One UI 8.5. I'm sure there is definitely going to be more, especially when the beta comes in and also when the S26 series gets announced. Samsung will pack that full of new things as well. So make sure you hit subscribe to SamMobile TV for all of that information. This is the place you want to keep up to date for it. And we'll see you guys next time. Thanks.